So, can you introduce yourself? I don't think you actually said what your name was. What do you want people to know you by? What is your artist name?
Well, my name is Romel. My last name is Madray.
Ah,
But so that's my artist name. I just want them if I want people to be known as I wanted to be known as an artist who was when people see my art, I want them to sense a sense of expansion within them, so that they feel like okay, I'm watching this and they can do something.
I
And it,
don't. So yeah, you were just talking about that woman who was super gorgeous and just had it was an artist and
yeah,
she gets all the clicks because she's like wears skin tight stuff. So what how comfortable would you be promoting yourself in slightly like male version of clickbait?
I mean, on YouTube, like 80% of
Me neither.
the people there are male, right? So I mean, what kind of attention you're gonna get is like,
I would have to have you might have to have security. Um,
"Hmm,
might have to have.
really? I think I might actually do it just to have security around this general area because it's kind of rough. It's like any police is good police, right?
Well,
You
where are
know,
you
so
from?
I am in Trinidad, which is in the West Indies.
Okay.
So, and the area I'm from is pretty rough.
What?
So yeah,
What do you
huh?
mean?
It's just, I mean, rough is rough, isn't it? I mean, there's like, you go like what, walk 20 feet, there's like a big bin of garbage on the road, and another one 40 feet away. And,
What?
and the road has holes on it, even though there's an asphalt lake, which is like natural tar, like, it's like Bugs Bunny, when they're going down the hill, they're like,
Uh-uh. Yeah.
so yeah, it's like that. I mean,
So
but
so it's rough as in the road is rough.
no, the area is pretty.
I'm
The
just
area is pretty. Like okay, I don't get post up like certain organizations won't come up here because of like they're worried about crime and stuff like that, and things like that.
how did you start doing your art? When did you start doing art?
I started art when I was pretty young. Like when you say art, my first art was graffiti. But
What?
and when I say that as a kid, I would take the letter forms because I learned writing, and so I learned to write, which is nice. And then what would happen is that I started like seeing graffiti artists like in the movies, and I'd kind of copy their writing and kind
Oh,
of break the letter forms and started playing with it. And because I did not have money for spray paint or markers or all these kind of things, which they're pretty cheap in the US,
yeah.
but they're unaffordable here because of imports, right?
Okay.
So what I did was that I had someone that showed me calligraphy. I was like, okay, well, it's ink. It's a lot cheaper than graffiti supplies, and I could use a pen or pencil. So it was pretty easy. I had the materials at hand. So what
Okay.
happened was that's how I got into calligraphy. I got into calligraphy, another letter form art, which is calligraphy. The ink itself is pretty cheap, but it's not good quality ink. And I got the nibs and stuff and I started practicing. So that's how, I got into calligraphy. And when I went into the UK, I got back into graffiti a little bit, although I was a bit concerned, being deported. But I got into it a little bit. I still had that rebellious streak in me, because it was bigger city and like, okay, I was hanging around with a little crowd there, kind of thing. And I started combining images with letters to kind of reinforce, let's say, because graffiti is a very rebellious art in the sense that it's essentially people saying something that don't necessarily have a formal artistic or haven't been formally trained. So it's almost like an art of rebellion. So I kind of took it, and later on I saw pictures that tended to be more towards rebellion, like Picasso's Guernica, which is heavily, he was against the Spanish Civil War. And I saw looked at America and started seeing people combining graffiti, which is the message, with pictorial form. So I kind of got into it there, looked at the manuscripts in the 16th century and stuff like that, and like the Catholic Church and stuff like that, mostly different, art forms and stuff. Yeah, so that's how I got into it. That's how I got into pictorial art. By pictorial art, I mean pictures, not words, not only words, but pictures. So
I'm trying to imagine this. So you're using words as pictures. Like I know what graffiti looks like. I think most of us knows what it looks like, but when you were doing graffiti, what did it look like? Was it mostly just you doing different words in the
yeah,
calligraphy style, or
yeah.
did you make your words into a picture?
Well,
Like it
well,
look like something else?
right. So there's the concept. There's a different view of graffiti. And there's a different focus. Sometimes the message is the focus. Sometimes the aesthetic is the focus. What is the aesthetic? The aesthetic is the so-called beauty of it, which people look for. They look for structure, they look for gesture, they look for color, and it leads you through. When I went into graffiti, formally, like like actually spraying, right?
Yeah.
And well, actually, I tended to use more markers, like not spray because I didn't like the spray. But I started with like hand style, which is marking. So but what happened was that with the graffiti, I found that sometimes I could reinforce a written word with a picture. So it became like the picture and the written word were together in the style. So what happens? So let's say you have um, a picture of the Virgin de Guadalupe, and you take that and you add on a paragraph from the Bible somewhere. What you're doing is you're reinforcing an idea from that can be read, and it has a clarity to it, to an image, and in some ways that can reinforce the overall idea, kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like if you're just reading something, you're in your mind trying to make an image. But if somebody's putting an image with it, it's reinforcing the artist's idea. So you're doing that. In terms of making pictures with letters, that was taken from, I saw people mostly doing it in Islamic art because their style of so-called handwriting or calligraphy was much more developed than the Western ones.
Right.
Because their religious organizations banned the certain pictures, especially figurative pictures, with the Quran, which was the primary mode of showing calligraphy. And back in those days, there was no printing press and stuff like that. So the printing press really made they were forced to do it because that was the pictorial way of representing certain things. So let's say you're writing a paragraph from the Quran on peace. You would have certain images that are symbolic of peace, like doves or trees or something like that. And so their form of writing became pictorially enhanced, and almost to the point of sometimes the letters were breaking, but it was kind of kept together loosely. So,
Can I ask a more general question? Why do you like calligraphy or writing, or why do you like that rather than just painting?
I like both. But what happened was that because of my economic circumstances, writing was the first way that I had access to art. So because of that, I accessed art through writing, because one, the limitations in materials, the cost of materials, etc. So there was a limitation in that respect. So that's why, and I like the hand feel as well. So it lended itself, and it came over the stroke, the understanding of it, the pictorial understanding of how calligraphy and also how images and letters were put together helped in me pushing towards the type of painting that I do, like and how to balance certain elements, kind of thing. So,
Gotcha.
Like I learned about flat space, depth space, texture, when to put texture, when not to put texture. The weight of an image can give like an emotional extent. The linear representation can lead in the gesture, that kind of stuff. You know.
Okay.
In painting, it's hard to see unless somebody's really obvious. But in writing, you tend to because it has to be reinforced, you would tend to see it more. Because writing tends to be more graphical. By graphical, I mean a flat shape against a flat shape. So you tend to, what happens is that you tend to see it more like that in writing. But in painting, where people usually put in depth to the painting, it's hard to separate it out, the shape of the letters and where they're taking you. Kind of
Okay,
thing.
that makes sense. So you got started with graffiti, and then you moved through.
Well, I didn't start. I started like liking graffiti just because I was writing and I wanted to break up the letters. You know, you're trying to make your name look good and like, oh, you know, fancy or whatever.
Fancy. Were you trying to impress somebody with your
No, I think it
writing?
was like, well, those kind of schools in here in the Caribbean, they usually have all boys school or all girls school. Um,
Oh,
so at certain schools, the more prestigious ones are like that. And so it wasn't trying to impress someone in the school. It was just like, okay, well, you know, I was just like, okay, this seems fun, you know, kind of thing, and cool and all that. And probably I was associated with American culture and especially American poor culture. Like
oh,
it always seemed like the poor people were more expressive, which usually I think now is the case too. I think, you know, I think poor people are a lot more smarter than rich people by far.
I would have to agree with a lot of that. They become a lot more creative in how they express themselves. So it makes it more unique, I found. Um,
There's nothing good. There's nothing so good as being broke to make you want to make you want to sing better. It's like, listen, I need to sing better, just to, just to be.
yeah. Oh man. So what are some besides starting out how you did and how you expressed yourself and you became more expressive and you were founding a better outlet to do so, what are some of the challenges you faced when you were going through your art journey?
Well, I'm still on a journey, right? But one of the challenges I face is basically there's the commercial aspect, which is basically finding your market. And here in Trinidad, the market is very small. It's very blocked out. So there are certain gatekeepers, but also the perception of the key. It's not a big thing here, like art. So you don't have like a lot of public art. So a lot of people haven't kind of progressed the understanding kind of thing. So it's a challenge. The financial aspect, being able to afford materials, but you know, so that is one of the bigger challenges, kind of thing, and getting your stuff out there. It's a challenge for a remote artist because you're trying to get to the center, which is New York, London, the hubs, you know, the hubs of art in Germany, that kind of depending on the types of art, Spain, Barcelona.
Gotcha. But what if you wanted your art to succeed, and just imagine it did succeed, what country would you want it to succeed the most in?
The USA.
USA. Why?
I think the states would appreciate that more. But also the type of some of the art I do is highly entrepreneurial in terms of there's a focus on expansion and growth in that entrepreneurial space. So there are artists that tend to um, put through positivity in some of the art that they do.
Okay.
And they tend to promote things like peace, love, you know, or expansionist ideals. And I think I can do the same thing with the calligraphy, but also the words. And it would appeal to that kind of market because I think what happens is that the I still think of America as the expansionist state kind of thing. Like it still is for me. There's still that ideal of the American dream that leads to people wanting things that gives them that helps them enable that positive experience. So yeah.
So Can you introduce yourself? I don't think you actually said what your name was. What do you want people to know you by? What is your artist name?
Well, my name is Romel. My last name is Madray.
Ah,
But so that's my artist name. I just want them, if I want people to be known as, I wanted to be known as an artist who was, when people see my art, I want them to sense a sense of expansion within them, so that they feel like, okay, I'm watching this and they can do something. So
mm,
I want them to still feel like there's a guy called Bill Murray. He's a movie star, and
mhm.
he said he was thinking about himself one night, and he saw this painting. I forgot the name of the painting. He's like, he was looking at the painting. He's like, okay, it's not so bad. I want the art that I put forward there, that when people look at it, they feel good about themselves. They feel like even though the night might be tough, whatever they're going through, they can still kind of get through it. So, and maybe even, to a sense, it becomes like um, that kind of object that becomes a legacy. For example, in words that are like a wedding vow, if I write calligraphy, I
Mm,
want it to be a legacy item, so that if you pass it down, let's say you have a good relationship with your husband or wife, you pass it down, it becomes a legacy item that you as the kids kind of take it and move forward with it. Whatever that was purposeful to you, the words that held purpose to you, kind of move forward. So a deeply personal item. I'll tell you something.
tell me.
Right. So the calligraphy has actually aided me to understanding the picture making process within a picture. Meaning that, let's say there's a picture that I want to create of a chicken or a dove or whatever, right? Or a snail. But anyway, so what it's aided me in is understanding the strokes and how a different stroke can be representational of a different type of expression.
Mm,
So, for example, people look at Van Gogh and see his like short stabbing strokes. He did a lot,
right.
which was in mostly oils. So he was in pastel. So the calligraphy, I tend to use watercolor or India ink. I tend to be able to see, because of the calligraphy, understanding the instrument, the brush or the pen. I can kind of understand, okay, how to use those strokes to focus on an element or take it away to a certain extent.
Gotcha.
But in other parts of it, I do lessen it down, because let's say I want to put a flat background, but I want to put texture. I would know how to do that, So I could move between different mediums.
Huh. I guess I've never thought about calligraphy that way because I'm not a calligraphist. So I don't, that's the right term, right? Calligraphist?
Well, it's right for different people, but it's calligrapher. But new words are being added to the dictionary every day. So
Oh, you're being so nice.
so you could have that attributed to you, like, okay, calligraphist.
Is calligraphist a word?
I don't know. I don't think
Yes.
so.
No?
Is it? I
What
don't
would
think
you say?
you say calligrapher, but
Calligrapher. Oh,
but I mean, it's, you can work with it. You know what I mean?
I was almost there.
It's fine. Uh, but
I'm
there are
learning
some
something
calligraphers
new.
who's the Chinese calligraphy use calligraphy as a healing method.
Oh,
The Taoist approach. There's one guy, he has about, and he's more Chinese calligraphy, and he's using that image to as it and the motion of the image that people do to make he says that there's an element of using that motion will help you like heal your internal chi or something like that. I mean, I don't know, but I mean, there's that aspect of it. Some people say tracing over an image would kind of help you, like being one with the image kind of thing. So
okay.
I use calligraphy that, like, one as visual aid, but if also people want to get themselves into the motion of it, like I write songs in calligraphy, for example.
What?
Yeah, when I say write songs, I don't write the words. I write the images of the songs in my head that I'm seeing, feeling while I'm going through listening to the song. So I would
You
listen
have
to
a
a song.
melody? You have a melody already in your head and you're drawing or writing the
You're writing what you feel in the melody. So you let it go with you. It's really a you're associating the melody and the words how you want it. For example,
It's very much like Kandinsky. Kandinsky used emotion and how
right,
they feel to use expressive lines, and I wonder if Kandinsky also did calligraphy because
I'm
that
not too sure
that
on
could be a correlation. I don't know. And
I'm not too
I
sure.
wonder what type of calligraphy, that different styles of calligraphy. And I'm asking you because you are the calligrapher. I'm using that word correctly this time. Um, if there are different styles of calligraphy, and if that original designer of that style wanted to evoke a different kind of emotion with that style.
Well, not initially. Initially, it was done as a form of writing, and what happened was that it was done as a form of writing primarily to write out books that the usually in Western calligraphy anyway. It was usually the church or religious institution that wanted to. So calligraphy developed along the lines of strokes and letter forms, mostly from the Roman alphabet.
Oh.
And in terms of different calligraphy styles, a lot of them developed a slant simply because of people speeding along. That was the original development of it. Um, and later on, the cat. Anyway, he might have his own moment,
Worry about the cat.
but later
Cat
on,
isn't it?
people kind of added aesthetics to calligraphy to kind of like flourish it and add flowers and do
Mhm.
different things. So you'll see that a lot in something called built-up letters, which are in the manuscripts. So people wanted to show a certain, like if they had a sentence and began with the letter R, they would have like roses in the R and stuff like that because the sentence began with R and they wanted to identify, okay, this is the start of a new sentence or something on a particular paragraph. So it became that. But different cultures have had different Western cultures have had different emphasis in their calligraphy, sometimes depending on their I suppose their expressiveness. So the
Mm.
Germans are very formalized, and the Italians are a little bit more looser kind of thing. So usually the like the further away you go from Germany, the more into the south and the hotter countries, the more expressive it becomes.
Gotcha, gotcha.
So.
If we have just a minute or two left here, but I wanted to ask, if somebody is watching this video and they just want to take something away from what you were expressing about calligraphy or your life, what would be, I don't know, just a takeaway that you want the viewer to know about you or to try in their life or
But words have more meaning than the sound of them. So the
Mm.
sound of a word can mean something, but there's also it can represent something. So if you have a word that resonates with you, it could be a particular saying that resonates with you. There may be an aesthetic aspect of it that lends to the emotion of that word. So, for example, love, very common word, but different people may have different representations of it, and it helps you to remember it.
Mm.
So when what happens is that it aids as a memory tool for you to visualize it and see it. Or cat, maybe. Yeah.
Okay. He's saying goodbye.
He's saying, yeah.
Um, um, I like that the kind of meaning that you're expressing with calligraphy. I've never used calligraphy before. Um, and I'm learning more about it. I knew that my grandmother did calligraphy as part of like a part-time job when she was young. But I had no idea any of the history or any of the different things that go into it. So I appreciate you expressing a little bit about a little window into your world, the art of Romel Madray.
Yeah, that's fine.
Um, and I hope to talk to you again soon about that.
Yeah, no worries. I hope you had a good time. I hope it was decent. The cat seemed interested, so hopefully I didn't bore the cat too much. And yeah.
I just wanted to say thank you, Romel, for giving this interview, and I hope to continue to collaborate with you. Please check out his links down below. I have everything linked down below, where you can find him, where you can find his art. If you have any questions for him, he would love to answer them. He also has his own channel, so please check out his own YouTube channel. He has a website, he has Instagram. Check out all his socials down below. You can also check out some more interviews that we're going to be doing in the future. We'll post them on both of our sites, so you'll be able to see them both on his YouTube site and my YouTube site. Feel free to check